I've always enjoyed post-apocalyptic and dystopian kind of fiction. I'm going to share a couple today that are amongst my favorites. I'm sure I'm going to forget a bunch of them. If you have any that you really like, even you want to recommend them to me, I appreciate it. Uh, it doesn't matter if it's like a movie or a book or a show or a video game or a campaign. Just uh, I enjoy it in any form, the messages, the media, that kind of thing. Um, so to start out, like the two big ones are like Fallout and Warhammer. But I kind of think, in a way, I don't know. Mass Effect seems like it's got some dystopian elements, although it's not really presented as such. So I kind of count that one. Um, some other like uh, games that I really enjoy, Shadowrun. There's Shadowrun Returns. It was like a Kickstarter project game that came out a few years back, where they go back into the Shadowrun universe, and it takes place in Seattle in 2054. It's like kind of a different vibe than the old RPGs, but it's well, a different setting, same vibe. Some people complain it's a little clean for a dystopia, but I enjoyed it. Um, two of them I kind of um like are somewhat similar. Is Secret World, which unfortunately it's rather difficult to get to the original version of it. It's an MMO by Funcom, but they have a relaunch of it, Secret World Legends, that isn't the best as far as MMOs goes. There's like some problems with how they reworked combat for and monetization. You can play it totally. You can play it for free. It's definitely worth checking out for the stories and the puzzles. There's some really cool ones that are yeah. Well, look into it if it sounds interesting. You play a secret society agent and you go through different areas where you and they're like inspired by different fiction. There's like a Lovecraft inspired area and an Egyptian area where it's kind of more like the Egyptian mythology, and there's a Transylvania area with both like vampires and like Soviet espionage, and that's kind of cool. And there's a there's a Tokyo area with like a with I don't know, tentacle horror kind of stuff. Um, I don't want to get too deep into any particular example, but I kind of want to go off on them. But I'm trying to cover a couple. So, um, as far as movies, I really liked Existence. It was it started like a Jennifer Jason Leigh and Jude Law. It's kind of an older movie, but it's absolutely worth a watch, and it's kind of interesting now that that Neuralink might be a little bit off. So it was directed by David Cronenberg. You're probably familiar with his movies. He kind of pioneered like the body horror genre, and there's if that kind of thing creeps you out, there's some really weird moments in the movie, so you might want to skip it. But I thought it was really interesting. It's like alternate reality, but it's like a nesting doll of alternate reality where they're playing a game where they're playing a game where they're playing a game, and then they kind of go through the movie. But something kind of interesting was like bioports where um, the the console is like kind of flesh-like and like plugs directly into your nervous system, and you can have like infected bioports in your body and stuff, and that's probably, yeah, again, like creepy creepy, kind of gross for some people, but no, there was like really interesting storytelling, and I enjoyed it, and I don't often hear it mentioned, so I thought I would mention it. Um, Obviously, like Blade Runner. I really liked the Ridley Scott version with Harrison Ford, and it's and Daryl Hannah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, that there's obviously like a more recent remake of it. It's really good too. I just really like the the combination of like the film noir vibes, the Bradbury building, like staircase, I really enjoy architecture, so like there's some beautiful moments in that version that I just always have enjoyed, and it's based on a Philip K. Dick book, and he was like I don't know, it gets called like paranoid fiction a little bit, but like he's um the author behind like so many really interesting dystopia and oh gosh, the state of things kind of books. So I really enjoy a lot of his stories, especially like a well done adaptation of one. There's even like a new one coming up, the Man in the High Castle. I'm gonna Oh, and there's an adaptation of Foundation coming up, and I'm not sure. I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic about it. We'll see what happens. Let me see. Um, Dark City. It was a '90s movie, and it came around out a similar time to The Matrix. And it had the a similar dark '90s vibe where it was like bringing back elements of like film noir. That's gonna be a reoccurring theme when I mention like the shows. Um, but it also had like just that gritty '90s feeling to it. But it's basically like dystopian version of the Truman Show. So if you enjoyed that kind of thing, you would probably really like Dark City. It's up there with one of my favorites. Um, uh, so show wise, I I wish I could have thought of more. There's tons. Um, Cyberpunk Edge Runners is really good. It's an anime, but, like, it's not an anime, it's like, um, it doesn't matter that it's an anime, it's a good story, for people that don't really like, that kinda thing. I really enjoyed it. Also, Cyberpunk is a great RPG. Um, it it's a good one if you are younger to go back and play because there's an extra level of, Idiosyncraticness, idiosyncr where, like, the idea of somebody having a rotary phone has fused to their arm is kind of fun to go back to now, that, technology has gotten smaller and more nimble, it's, I still think it holds up, and obviously, there's like the really good video game version of it by CD Projekt Red that, it had a rough start, but they really came back and the DLC is amazing. So I really like that one. Um, and then Caprica, um, the redheaded stepchild. So Battlestar Galactica, right? Really strong start, very confusing ending, right? Or very confusing like mid where they're like, "Oh, the show's gonna end. Oh wait, just kidding, it's not ending." And then they came back from it. Yeah, no, no, Battlestar Galactica, like, oh, the early seasons is just such a good show, but that's not what I'm trying to mention. So, Caprica was a light spin-off in taking place within the same universe with the Cylons and everything. But it had a totally different plot and vibe and feeling, and sadly for me, not everybody liked it, so it was canceled for a reason. It only got one season, but if you just are looking for something kind of, I mean, I won't say new, but different, right? Because it's an older show. Um, it it's really interesting. Like in the context of like how things are going now, like I think I've been accused of being an AI like several times this week already. So like, times we're living in. Um there was actually the idea in the show of how how much aggregated aggravated aggregated data about yourself can reconstruct a version of you in a alternate like um existence kind of world. Like I'm trying to think of the right word for it. But like if everybody's living in a VR world, how much of you can you replicate by knowing things about you? Like, if you do a phototelemetry scan of your body, how much of that is you? If you have your medical records or your a list of likes and taste, and it's curious. It kind of toys around with the idea, like, is a construct made out of your analytics you, or is there something that kind of makes you you, uniquely? So it was an interesting concept to explore. Um, there were places where the budget showed, but like style wise, they went for um kind of a noir feeling, but it was post post disaster, kind of futuristic world, and I enjoyed it. I was going to talk about just the show until I realized that like no one watched it back then, no one cares now. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. Um, it's worth it's worth giving it a try. If you're looking for something different. And the Shannara Chronicles by Terry Brooks had a adaptation. It's kind of similar to Shadowrun is in the sense that it like elves and orcs and trolls like live amongst humans. So um it's a good one. It's post-apocalyptic, but it's not I don't know. It's a bit more fantasy leaning than like sci-fi or like a thriller or that kind of thing. But yeah, it's worth checking out, if you're more of a fiction person, like fantasy. I'm sorry, I said fiction. Um, some books, like 1984 is a given, right? But Trample an Empire Down, by Mac Reynolds, is one that I enjoyed because it seems more plausible. It's a lot of jobs were made redundant by having by having like more automation, you know, flippies coming for our jobs, that sort of thing. And some people get bored and try to start a revolution because they don't have anything to do and they're trying to just skim off some beer money. And that's it asks some interesting questions, but in a really like chill like I it's it definitely doesn't have a lot of tension. It's a very it's a very slow burn kind of story, and it's an easy read, and I enjoy it a lot. One that's kind of utopian, but it has some has a lot of social commentary about the dystopian state of the world at the time that it was written. Is Looking Backward by Edward Bellamy. Like in the introduction is like one of my favorite passages I think I've ever read because of how eloquently he described like the tiers of society, and I really enjoy it. The carriage analogy, if you do end up reading it, I really I thought that was perfect. Something special about that one is it was speculative fiction, so it was written to take place in a different time in 1887. So it's kind of interesting how how similar of a problem, um, you know, eh, that, that, like, maybe things aren't so different after all, it was pre-Gilded Age, so, it's kind of I don't know, I just really enjoy it, trying to think if, like, if there's any that I really wanted to talk about that I've forgotten. I suppose, Dollhouse, is a show, it was like a Joss Whedon, TV show, uh, where, people are reprogrammed. Like, they have a bit more, um, like, consciousness and control than, like, servitors do, but they're still kind of they're still kind of, like, programmed where, they don't, they don't remember who they are. Like, basically, their bodies are used with somebody else's, like, personality or multiple people's personality sometimes downloaded into them, like, all of their memories and their experiences, so they think they're somebody else temporarily. And, the premise of the show is that they put somebody else's personality into these, attractive people, basically, and then they rent them out to people, and, the girls agree beforehand to become part of it. But they're they don't know. They have no understanding of what's going on when there's somebody else, and it's it's a little dark, and and there's I don't know. Um, I guess that's it for now. I'm sure I'll think of more later. Take care.